usual. My name is Gabi. I'm a business analyst here at Cogent. We have with us Edgar, Alfonso, and Miguel. Edgar is our moderator. Miguel and Alfonso are tech leads. I think you all know them by now. So today's topic is blockchain beyond cryptocurrency. So basically, that's what we want. We want to explore the various uses and potential of blockchain technology beyond its most commonly known technology, which is cryptocurrency. So now we know that blockchain has the potential to revolutionize industries such as supply chain management, digital identity, and so much more. That's what we are going to be discussing today. So if you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand or leave it in the comments. I can go through them. I will go through them. And yeah, welcome once again. And Edgar, over to you.
Thank you, Gabi. Yeah, so today's topic is going to be interesting as usual. I believe blockchain, right, has been really tied up with cryptocurrencies, and then there was like this bubble where everyone was talking about it. Then it kind of disappeared a little bit on the tech scene and pretty much everywhere else. But I believe the most important part about this is that blockchain is not cryptocurrency, right? So even though Bitcoin or some other cryptos are not doing well at the moment or whatever, I think there's so much more that we need to understand about blockchain and how it can be applied to the industry and all of these possible applications that it really has, right? So even though it might be or it might seem stop at the moment, the truth is that it will keep there and it will keep growing in the background a little bit. But we will start seeing more and more these applications that it has, above all in different industries. So with blockchain, we will start seeing more transparency. We can avoid counterfeiting, and we can also see more trust in the processes that make use of it, right? So it will become a advantage for the companies that adopt it. Yeah, I mean, there will always be this side of crypto, but for sure there are so much more that we want to talk about, and hopefully we can see and realize that potential that it has to revolutionize and change industries and even the internet itself. So that being said, I will pass now to Miguel, who prepared these few slides, and then we will start talking about what is blockchain, how it looks like, the typical ecosystem, right? And from there, we will start exploring this past world. So over to you, Miguel.
Yeah, thank you, Edgar. Yeah, I'd like to start reading this quote we have here. Like to start saying blockchain is a distributed layer technology that allow multiple parties to maintain and verify a secure and transparent record of transactions without the need of centralized authority. Okay, this is from the author of the Business Blockchain. So I know, especially if you previously don't so those term. We can see here specific keys, right? For example, we can say, okay, what does mean a centralized authority? So I think that's Alfonso can help us better here, but we need to start identifying the main structure of blockchain and specific terms or concepts. Okay, so that's why I like to to start talking about in simple terms, what is a blockchain, right? Probably here we can ask to the audience if they can share the concept about the blockchain. Or Alfonso can start.
Okay. Yeah. Hello. Sorry.
No problem.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you allow me to tell us a little history of blockchain, and then maybe we can understand better why blockchain is and what it is.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So at the end of the 80s and the beginning of the 90s, a move called the cypherpunks began to take shape. At that time, it was about 30 years ago. Yeah. At that time, the use of the internet was very little and nothing compared what it is today, right? So, however, these cypherpunks, which was a multidisciplinary group of computer scientists, philosophers, lawyers, engineers, and many other professions, knew that the use of internet would grow exponentially, and in the coming years, and with it, several problems will arise, including the privacy of the individuals, and also the centralization of information. So the cypherpunks created a mail list where they shared different ideas and possible solutions to these coming problems of internet, and also began to discuss about digital currency. Okay, so then during the next 2 decades, from the beginning of the movement, they were working on trying to solve these problems, and some important concepts were coined. For example, proof of work, peer-to-peer, immutable system, and others that were very relevant in the next years. Until 2008, a mythical character named Satoshi Nakamoto published a white paper called Bitcoin, a peer-to-peer electronic cash system. And in these papers, this character, because nobody knows Satoshi Nakamoto, so we don't know if it is a person or if it is a group of persons. He talks about the creation of a digital currency called Bitcoin that nowadays I think most of the persons in the planet knows that concept, Bitcoin. But also it talks about the birth of a new technology that is called blockchain. Okay, so blockchain allows to solve several problems that we have today with the use of the internet. One of them is the privacy. Another one is the centralization, but also solves problems such as the double spending problem and the problem of the Byzantine generals. And that's why the digital currencies is one of the main uses of blockchain, but as we said, is not the only use case to use blockchain. So these cypherpunks want to solve this centralization problem that we have. We already have this problem, and companies such as Facebook, Google, TikTok, obviously, and many other social networks sell that information that they collect the information of individuals they collect, and then sell that information to other companies for marketing purposes, right? And well, for marketing purposes, but obviously we know different problems such as the Brexit, that it was managed or manipulate with social media. And so right now we have companies that has a lot of information, and they can sell and do many things with that information. So blockchain is one of the things that we want to solve. And I don't know if you have another slide where talk about what is blockchain.
No, next one will be compare client server versus blockchain.
Okay, don't worry. So what blockchain is we can see it like a database, right? With the records of transactions storage there, and the public public blockchain networks, everybody can see those transactions and those records. But it is that is why it's block and chain. Block as a block, but the blocks are chained one to the other. So one new block cannot be or cannot exist if there is no a previous blockchain. So we have the Genesis blockchain, and from there we create new blocks, and every block is chained between each other. So the way that a new blockchain is created is the number of transactions in each block. So when a block is full, we create a new blockchain, and many transactions could store in this new block. And then to validate each transaction that is stored in the blockchain, we have a very peers or nodes that validate the transaction. So that's how the Byzantine generals problem is resolved, doing this validation all the peers that belongs to the network. And
yeah, so sorry, Alfonso.
Yeah.
Basically, we can say through this mechanism, we are creating, or we are generating this concept about the ledger, right? So
Exactly.
basically, we are creating these records, right, for all the transactions. And through this mechanism, you are saying we basically are creating like a immutable data, right?
Exactly.
Nobody can corrupt that information.
Exactly.
Basically, yeah, every node has the same information, right?
Exactly.
Same record.
Exactly. Every node in the network has the same information, and every node in the network participates in the validation of information. So that's how that it is an immutable system, because you cannot change the records that are stored in the blockchain. Okay, so
Then show you the next one.
yeah, if a hacker, for example, want to attack one of the nodes, it could attack it, but it cannot. Well, it is possible, but it will need a lot of performance, hardware performance, to attack all the nodes at the same time, right? So maybe right now is not possible because that technical limitation. But if one of the nodes got corrupt, it will remove from the network, and the other peers and the other nodes that are part of the network will continue validation, doing the validation of transactions. Okay.
Yeah, I have actually connected example here. For example, based on this decentralized network, here we can compare two common approaches, right? When we are sharing information. So, for example, here we have the client server, okay, the common and actually the current approach and paradigm we have when we are creating systems. So suppose we have a bank, a traditional bank, okay, with a centralized environment or server, okay? What is happening every time you access through your phone and you transact money, right? You send money to different account. Basically, what's happening there? It's happening there is we are just storing the whole information in a specific environment, right? So that's connected. What happens if a hacker accesses directly to the server and modifies something? So obviously, we're gonna lose the integrity of the data because we have a centralized environment. Okay, now suppose you have the same bank, okay, but now with a blockchain. I'm gonna show you a bit how that will happen. Suppose this wallet, this user, as a Bitcoin. So here, this user will transact, will send that Bitcoin to this second wallet. Okay. So now we are sending the Bitcoin and we are generating the transaction, right? A specific number. But later, we need to share through broadcast that we have transacted, we have created this transaction. So basically here, big picture, we can say everybody is understanding those two users created this transaction. So
Yeah,
that's basically the concept.
And the wallet too will see the funds in their wallet once all the nodes validate the transaction.
Mhm.
Okay, so if in the meantime wallet 1 or wallet 2 want to do a fraud or something like that, it will invalidate the transaction, so nothing happens there. Okay.
Okay. Yes, so maybe let's do a quick recap here because I believe the points that you guys added are like pretty interesting, right? I believe the first part is about this centralization, right? And I believe when we talk about centralization, as Miguel was saying, we are talking about one entity. For example, the bank that Miguel was mentioning, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when we mention that something is centralized, that means that that bank, for example, has it might be information, right? But in case of banks, they also have money, right? And what we are saying is that this bank has the control over the information or over the money of all the people that are trusting in it or that are at least interacting with it, right? So I believe when we talk about centralization, we are talking about these particular entities that basically have this power or this control over information or other resources. And then everyone is trusting this particular entity, but there's not really transparency about what is happening behind that wall, if we can name it that way, right? So I believe, as you guys were mentioning, that one of the main principles of blockchain is that we would be getting rid of that centralized entity that has all of this control. And we can see it on this diagram, right? The idea about blockchain is distributing this control over all the participants in this sort of network, right? That they all take or participate in. And then we start talking about these transactions, right? So something that I was thinking about was, we are talking about blocks, right? In the information that gets stored inside these blocks, and that when they get together, we call it like a chain of blocks, because there's one block that goes after the other. And in order to connect them, or to make them part of that chain, right? Then there are some things that happen there that are, like cryptographical and there's some mathematics into it. And by doing that, then we can start adding more transactions. That is what Alfonso was saying. So we try to make one transaction, and then everyone in the network needs they need to validate that transaction, so it becomes part of the chain, right? So it is validated. So maybe what I was thinking is, before proceeding, maybe we can see, right, how a block looks like, and I believe that might give us some more idea on what is a block, right? Yeah, maybe I can share my screen real quick. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So for example, here we are seeing this website that I believe Alfonso shared with us some time ago.
Yeah,
we were doing some experiments.
This is a block explorer of Ethereum network. And here you can, this is how we can see, I mean, everybody can see the information in the network. So you can,
it's public.
Yeah, it's public and everybody can see. You can search for transactions or for addresses or for contracts, and so you can see what is happening in the block.
Exactly. So I believe this is another important difference, right? When transactions happens, for example, in a bank, you don't really get to see what is happening. I mean, you get like a code, and then that's like your reference to it, but you don't see where the money is actually going behind that bank front, right? They operate the money somehow, and they kind of tell you this is your money, but you don't really know if it is there or not. Or if they are investing it in something else, you don't have any kind of transparency, right? So in this case, here we are exploring, for example, one blockchain that is Ethereum, and basically here we can see the blocks, right? So what is a block? How does it look like in real life? This is a block, right? And basically we can see here that a block can contain information, right? And it can be many types of information, right? Like text, it can be information about transactions, it can be just numbers. I mean, there's like this information that we are storing in the blockchain, right? And these blocks, as you can see, we can come and see each and every block that is currently going on in the blockchain. So it's transparent. I don't have to be a member of this blockchain necessarily, at least for Ethereum, to come and see what is happening, right? This block represents this transaction that Miguel and Alfonso were mentioning. And we can see here that they have like this particular block number. Then they have particular mechanisms to make it secure, right? So everyone, by the time we are seeing a block here, everyone already agreed that that block was going to be added to the blockchain, right?
Yeah. Just to add something, we see these hexadecimal numbers, 0x and many other numbers and letters. We see this because in the blockchain, everything is it get cryptographically secured. So we use mechanisms such as SHA-256 to this kind of sign the transactions to make it secure. And this is also how the blockchain allows privacy. We have an address. This is how the blockchain knows this is a peer, and we can share the information that we want to share, not all the information as with centralized systems. They collect the information and they share for the best posture. Okay, just said that.
Okay.
Just
yes.
parenthesis. Sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's also true when you are start reading deeply on blockchain. For example, my first experience was to read this Bitcoin, the white paper. So when I started to read about it, I noticed we had to know many areas at the same time. And right now I'm just listening Alfonso and Edgar, but they are jumping between technology, concepts, like finances, economy. It's a bit weird, right? So that's why I think, if I'm not sure if the audience has a question or something like that, we can try to verify, right? The concepts are there or we are explaining. Because I know we are talking at the same time. We are in many topics, right?
Yeah, that's why I started with these cypherpunks, because it was a group of people from different professions and different knowledges, and they mix all that knowledge into one technology, that is the blockchain. So we have the blockchain has a lot of mathematics, applied mathematics in there. They have a lot of concept of computer science, but also has kind of a philosophy in the way that we use blockchain and how it should work, and also obviously economics and many other knowledges, as you said.
Mhm. Yes, that is definitely true. So my idea was, to show this first, right? Because we talk about blocks and we talk about change, right? But what exactly is that? So if we were to see with our eyes, right, what a block looks like, it's basically this. And this might not give us much information, right? But at least I believe it would give us that perspective of, oh, okay, so there's information in there, right? And at this point, that's
a good
what we
point.
can take from
Just
that.
basically a database, right? With this
Yes,
information. Yeah,
correct. So yes, we have this information in there, and there's a mechanism from which this information is providing all of these attributes and properties, right, of insecure and transparent, and maintaining that privacy, but at the same time being shared among everyone. So there's a lot of things to it, as you guys have mentioned. I just wanted to, clarify a little bit. If you see a block, this is how it looks like, right? And from there we can start building so many other points that are there, right? And about your example, Miguel, in this diagram, right? Maybe we can go back to it. So we were seeing precisely that same pattern, right? In that place, I believe we were talking about technology, but even in the technology where we can see servers and we can see cell phones connecting to those servers as it normally works, the internet, right? And now at the right-hand side, we can see how instead of putting all our trust in some entity for which we don't really know much, we can start sharing that trust with so many other people, right? So it kind of democratize this process. Then this means a shift in the paradigm of how things work currently. And I definitely would be, like more comfortable if I were able to see where my money is exactly going, for example, right? Or where other resources are exactly going by looking at transactions and blocks, rather than just trusting blindly on some entity. for which I don't really have any kind of idea of what is happening with it, right? So I believe that's part of the concept, part of the revolution that blockchain is trying to bring to the table. And I just wanted to make that parenthesis and kind of make a quick recap of everything that we have seen so far. So it's a bit more clear about what we are talking about, right? And as you can see, everyone, there's lots of things going on here. So we will try to explore little by little, so it's a bit more understandable.
Thank you. Sorry, I'd also like to talk about the big concept, right? Because we are talking on this decentralized environment, right? So, for example, here this was an example of banking, right? But we can use a different sector, different topic. For example, we can create a decentralized voting system, right, through smart contracts. And instead of having those wallets, we can have a unique ID, right, per voter. So essentially, when it's time to vote, the voter would use their key, right, cast their vote. So, and if we have this decentralized environment, we can have the votes cannot be changed, right? That's also very cool because we are ensuring the integrity of the voting process. So that's, if you see, we can convert everything using this approach and again, trying to decentralize the information and trying to generate a trust environment. So that's why I think it's important to establish the concept is there. The decentralized topic is the biggest topic, right? Then you can use technology, or you can, it's up to you, right?
Yes, correct, definitely. I mean, for sure, that would be super helpful in many countries, right? Like actually trusting the voting process and know that everything is really transparent and not being modified behind the scenes. And like that, there are lots of applications. For example, what about medicine, right? There's some problems in some countries where you can get medicine that is not original, like that is, you know, that it might be, by not original, I mean to say that you don't really know if the lab that is claiming to have produced this medicine is the right one or it's the actual one, right? So with this technology, then you can ensure, for example, that the medicine that you are getting, it's something that will actually help you, right? And won't be a threat to your health. So those kind of things we can start ensuring by using this kind of technology, right? Because you get the tracking of everything that happened to something, and all of that tracking gets into the blockchain, and it cannot be modified. So I believe that's another important factor about blockchain, right?
Supply chain right now, industry is adopting this approach.
Yeah, for example, these luxury brands such as Hermes, Louis Vuitton, that kind of brands, they are using blockchain to validate that that product has been produced by them and it is not a copy, because they suffer a lot of clonation problems. So that's how they are using it. It's kind of the usage of NFTs also, that one digital file is the original one and is not a copy from the internet or something. Also, for example, for as you said, in supply chain for food, we can see if a food, I mean, for example, for a tuna fish, right? you know, there are sometimes that the tuna fish is like maybe it's not a tuna fish, but you buy it as a tuna fish. So there are a few companies that are using blockchain to store the data where the fish has been cooked.
That's
and
interesting. Sorry,
and the
I like
different
to. Sorry.
the different parts of the
Yeah.
supply chain where the tuna fish is processed.
Yeah, that's also very cool. Right now, the products have the barcode, right? If you read that barcode, you are just probably getting the ID, that product. But that ID belongs to the product in general, right? With this new tool, you can create a unique ID for a product. I mean, you can identify that like a real box you have there is unique, and you can track the whole supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's also a big revolution, because we're gonna, if you again buy a ton of fish, instead of just seeing the product ID, we can read a code and we can see the timeline of this ton of fish. So that's also will change a lot of the industry, the supply chain.
Yes, correct. So maybe Miguel, we can move to the next slide, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if somebody has a question or something that.
Yes, actually, but this is like a mix of AI topic with crypto. Sebastian is asking, what about using an AI tool, I think, to predict the future value of crypto?
To predict the future value of crypto.
And the next
You mean
below.
to trade with cryptocurrencies or what?
Sebastian, if you're here.
Yes, I mean about predict the value of another in 2 weeks.
Well, until now, any technology has predict. It's available to predict not only cryptos but only the share market, traditional share market, because it is. I mean, there are a lot of variants and variables there that until now we are not able to do that even with AI.
At the end, it's just a prediction. You never know if it's going to be
Yeah,
true
we
or...
can build some mathematical models and those kind of things, but it's just a prediction. We really don't know
how it's going to act.
Yeah.
Okay, I hope that answers your question, Sebastian. Miguel, you can move forward.
Yeah, I just want to talk about this. Probably we can use the systems we are building every day, trying to understand the benefits and limitations if we apply a blockchain, right? If we have, suppose we have a real system and we want to track something right there through the process. So yeah, I'd like to talk about it. We should differentiate several concepts here, and based on those concepts, you cannot go ahead, right? Sometimes because you have those limitations. So very quick, I have some of them. For example, we can say, okay, blockchain is an immutable system, right? We offer transparency. We increase the level of trust, and we have this permanent historic record. The other side, we have probably can be a problem if we have an immutable data, because sometimes if we have a specific scenario in a system or with a requirement, we need to modify the data, right? So we definitely, this is just to show you those benefits and limitations, and from there you can decide if you can use a blockchain or not. So that's why we have those points. For example, we can, probably Alfonso can help us with the scalability, with no modifications, with the time it's processing a new block. So to know those characteristics can help us to identify if we can use this concept in a specific requirement.
Yeah, something, I mean, it's not a secret that a lot of efforts from companies are trying to convert the blockchain into a transactional database. And new networks,
Like
for
traditional databases, right?
Yeah.
SQL or
yeah, for example, Solana, they put a lot of effort trying to convert the blockchain into a transactional database. I'm really not sure that that idea, because blockchain is what it is, and it works like that, right? So in order to create new applications that use blockchain, well, they are called the dApps, right? Decentralized applications or Web3 applications. But I think we need to mix the usage of blockchain for some processes or for some requirements, and then we need to mix it these processes with a traditional database or a traditional application. So we need
both. Yeah, right. Okay, hybrid.
Yeah, we need a hybrid between those, and obviously we need to have the knowledge how that we need to mix or integrate those technologies between each other. I think and we are seeing, when we try to convert the blockchain into a traditional database to transact a lot of transactions per second and those kind of things, we have created a layer 2 networks. So we need to build a tunnel between the layer 2 and the blockchain. Okay, so in this tunnel we have a lot of problems. So I think everybody has known or hear about a hacking, and they hack the tunnel and they steal 1,000 of ethers or something like that, right? Because I think that's a problem, because the blockchain is what it is and is secure how it works. It takes time to validate the transaction. So if we need something, for example, as you said, we want to update a record in a database, we need to do that because it is a transactional data or transactional record. Maybe that record we are not going to store in the blockchain. We will store that record in a traditional database, and we only need to store the transaction or something that it should not be a change for the application. So yes, it has limitations, but also it has benefits. So I think we as persons or professionals for we need to know how to work between the technologies that we have, right?
Yeah, a new task for the product owners to identify if they can use a blockchain or not.
Exactly.
Even specific pieces of the data, right? We can say, okay, this is not sure, immutable, So we can store that information or not.
Something
They decide.
that we don't tell is also there are private blockchains networks. So we only talk about public networks, but also there are private networks. So the private networks is, for example, a company wants to, or for example, the government. We talk about this votation system. So maybe we can have an ID, a digital ID for every person, right? So the government needs to know the name, first name, last name, date of birth, any kind of information about a person, right?
Right.
And that person could be stored in a private network. So only the government has entrance to that private network, and our hexadecimal key address should be the one that is public. Okay, so maybe if I, for example, I want to pay my taxes, I use my address, and the government knows that this address belongs to this person, right? So now in the private network, we do that match between the public address and the private address, and we can do this kind of records of these kind of processes to work, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, the government knows that information is an immutable data, right? But it's private.
Yeah, it's private.
Mhm.
So I mean, with private is that no anyone can see our data.
But you trust that information internally. I'm not sure,
Yes,
Edgar.
I believe by that we are saying, right? We normally say blockchain. Then we think, yeah, so blockchain is one thing. It's like a single platform, or it's Bitcoin or whatever.
Technology.
But really what is happening is that, as Alfonso was saying, there's not a single platform, right? So there are multiple platforms, and then there are like multiple people working over the same concept, but creating different implementations of it, right? Like different approaches and different ways in which you can use it. So maybe while Alfonso was talking about this public and private, then it came to my mind like, yeah, so it is even true that you can create a blockchain for your company only, for example, right?
Exactly.
So for example, if you want to keep track of the expenses in your company, or if you want to keep track of the accountability, right? So that is something that you can actually do by implementing one of these platforms and taking it into your company, right? So blockchain doesn't really mean a single platform, a single thing. There are like multiple ways of doing it, and each one of these has even its own pros and cons, right? So there's like a lot of things to explore there. And this concept of also public and private, I believe it's interesting, right? Because so far we have said, yeah, so pretty much the blockchain would allow me to go and see a block and understand what is happening. And that doesn't change when we say something it's private. It just does mean that if I'm part of that private blockchain, I would still be able to see the records, right?
Yeah, the whole information there. Yeah.
Yeah, because that's the concept of the technology. The only thing is, if I'm creating a blockchain for my company and somebody else is outside my company and cannot access it, then they won't be able to see it, but the information will be there, right? And it will be secure and transparent, etc. But there's this chance to take it to these implementations, even for one single company or a group of companies, right? So I believe it's also important to mention that difference in what we mean by that.
Yeah,
I believe
something that
please.
is out of the box using blockchain is this mechanism to audit the system, right? Actually, we know that companies are huge companies doing auditations for companies, right? So something that is out of the box with using blockchain is this: you can audit the system because all the transaction and the records are there. So as you said, if I want to keep a track of every financial transaction inside my company, I can do that in a private network, and everybody that has access to that private network can see every of those records and every of those transactions. So we keep transparent how we are spending or buying, or where the money is going. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So I believe this session was, like lots of theory, because there's actually lots of it, right? In lots of concepts flying around, and really trying to understand all of that is sometimes a bit difficult. But maybe what we can do for the next session is, yes, we will talk just a little bit about these concepts, but maybe we can bring some examples, right? And some videos that we can see, or some other media. So it's easier to understand all of these things and concepts flying around, and for us to really visualize what else is in there, and how people are actually applying it. So I think that would be the way to go.
Yes, for sure. It's been really interesting, actually, to really get to know all the uses that that people do with blockchain, and except for like only cryptocurrency, which is like what we all know. So it's been great. I agree that we should come up next week with some practical examples, so we can understand it way better. So yes, I guess next week we are going to be back with this topic. I hope to see you all here. It's time to wrap this up. So if there's anything else we want to add, otherwise we can say goodbye.
Read the white paper Bitcoin. It's very interesting.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
We have some homework then.
Yeah. Good.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Edgar, Alfonso, and Miguel, and everyone that joined. I'll see you all next week for this same topic, and have a great rest of the day.